Okay, rolling. Hello and welcome to this fifth edition of e-dialogue series organized by Urban State and All India Institute of Local Self-Government. For the last little over 6 months, the entire world is grappling with the pandemic coronavirus. Like there are frontline, as they are called, frontline warriors, all the health workers who are working day and night to save lives. There are frontline reporters who get you all the news, all the information, all the visuals that at the end of the day, you want to see to keep yourself informed about what is happening, not just where you are located, where you are based, but also across the globe. They risk everything. They put their life on the, as you can say, on the neck, on the life, their life. They also they work in a very difficult circumstances to get you the pictures that you see, to get you the narration, to get you the stories of hope and despair, stories of triumph and sorrow. I'll tell you with the experience that I have and all the journalists with me today on the program, they are all senior journalists, very, very experienced. And this is not easy to get all those information, collect the information, filter it, and then bring you in a very concise form. And I never thought that I'll have this opportunity to have a panel of 7 journalists, Indian journalists across the globe. They are all fellow journalists from same tribe, and it would be wonderful talking to them because sitting here in India, we get all the information, but they are based at different places, global cities across, and they will get you the real information, what they saw on the ground, as we call it ground zero, how the things unfolded, how things developed, how the society reacted, how the governments reacted. All this information they collected and related to India also and the places where they work. So let me introduce the panel first briefly. I am joined by Subham Pal. Subham is a senior journalist with experience of more than 15 years. He is based in Beijing, where actually in China, the first case detected. So he will be telling us what exactly he saw. And joining us from Washington is senior journalist Seema Sirohi. She is a columnist for Economic Times. She writes extensively on geopolitics, especially on Indo-US relations, Sino-US relations. And given the situation, the tension between China and US at the moment, so far as coronavirus is concerned, apart from other conflicts, so she will be talking about the situation in Washington and in USA generally. From Paris, Mr. Vijay Singh. Vijay Singh is a senior journalist, you can say. Now he calls himself a former journalist because he started his career way back in 1980 with the prestigious French newspaper Le Monde, Liberation, contributed articles to various global newspapers. Then he became a novelist, wrote a wonderful novel among many called Jaya Gange. Then he became a filmmaker. One of my favorite films that he has produced is $1 Curry. If you get a chance, do watch it. He has been a jury member on almost every European film festival. Joining us from London is Lavina Tandon with a vast experience. She reports for TV Today Network, which is India Today, Aaj Tak from London. She will give us the first hand account of how things are in London at the moment. Joining us from Bonn is Anwar Ashraf. He is a senior journalist with Deutsche Welle News Network, has been extensively reporting on coronavirus. Germany has been one country in Europe which has been able to relatively contain coronavirus better than any other European country, major European country. Joining us from Dubai is Shaner. Shaner also reports from reports for TV Today Network, writes for Indian newspapers and other publications in different countries. Joining us will be Vidya from Mumbai, which is the hottest spot in India at the moment. And she has been working for TV Today Network for over 15 years now. So that is a brief introduction of all my 7 panelists. So let's start with the place where it all started. Let's go to Subham first in Beijing. Subham, there are many questions actually. And yes, before I go to Subham, there are certain rules that I must say. Every speaker should limit themselves to 3 minutes in their opening comments so that every panelist gets a fair chance sooner to have a say. And then we'll go for the second round of questions once every panelist has spoken. For all the people who have joined us on Zoom as a participant, at the end of the second round, they can ask questions live to the panelists, or you can ask your questions on Zoom chat and name the panelist to whom your question is addressed to, and I will put him or her the question. Those who are watching this program live on Facebook, you can leave your comment or question on our Facebook page, Urban Update Mag. To watch it, the live streaming of the program, just open your Facebook page and go to Urban Update Mag. So yes, Subham. Language is not an issue. You can speak in English, you can speak in Hindi, you can mix it. Choice is yours. So Subham, there are many questions. One, when did the first virus was reported, the case was reported? South China Morning Post says it was 17th of November. World Health Organization does not have its own information, says 8th of December, and different dates are there. Doctors in Wuhan says it was 1st of December. What was actually the date when the first case was reported? Number 2, we know that till 31st of December, even if it was reported, first case was reported in 3rd week of January, by 31st of December, still the number of cases was less than 300 in China. But within 3 weeks, by the 3rd week of January, China had to go for a long lockdown in Wuhan, especially. What happened, how the situation unfolded, and how the government reacted in these 2 months before they went for the lockdown. Subham.
Well, Dhananjay, I mean, it's a very pertinent question you have asked. So, I mean, since December, to be honest, everybody in China, there was a murmur about, there is a mysterious pneumonia in Wuhan. And some of the Chinese media outlets, like vernacular media outlets, they talked about, there are some rumors, and basically they presented the official version that please don't spread the rumor. That was in December. And in January, the first 2-3 days in January, China's state broadcaster CCTV, they showed a clip, I mean, in one of their news bulletins where they showed that 8 doctors have been detained for spreading misinformation, rumor. So, and I mean, those doctors, one of them happened to be the martyr, as they call him, Dr. Li Wenliang. So he was one of the doctors. So that video was also circulated, like the state media did the story. But as you said, like officially, the Lancet paper, which gave a reference to a Chinese research done by some Chinese scholars in China, authorized research. So they claimed the first case probably got registered. The onset date, as they call it, the onset date was 1st of December. But as you mentioned, South China Morning Post, they reported it may have been 17th of November, but there was no authentic or credible information, like, you know, if somebody has registered. That was more to do with some background, you know, collating some of the facts and some data and all. So that's how they came up with that date. It's still not to be known, but officially, as WHO and the Lancet journal paper and the Chinese authorities, they claimed it's 1st of December. December, there was a murmur in China. First 2 weeks of January, when the Spring Festival and Lunar New Year rush started, the mass migration of human, I mean, that the largest migration of human started in January, first week or second week. At that time, there was still a murmur. And, you know, everybody was talking about something is there in Wuhan. Something is there in Wuhan, some unknown virus. And one must not forget that China had the nightmares of SARS in 2002 and 3, mainland China and Hong Kong. So they still had the memory of SARS. So there were murmurs, there were rumors about something happened, some mystery, SARS may be back. So those kind of things, but those were under the carpet at that time. Nobody openly said about that. And incidentally, I can still tell you, there were like a lot of things happened, activities happened in Wuhan. There was a mass buffet for a community buffet in which like 40,000 family attended. There was a basketball match of a Chinese Basketball Association. They are university players. So people were there. There were no restrictions. Nothing was there. And on 23rd of January, which was the D-Day in terms of lockdown, the world's largest lockdown took place on that day. On that morning itself, I remember the Indian Embassy organized a function, a Republic Day special event, in which they invited all the dignitaries, all the diplomats. The Chinese Vice Foreign Minister was there, the US Ambassador to China was there, the Russia Ambassador to China was there. So everybody was there. And at that event in Beijing, I myself also attended. There's nobody, no restriction, nothing. There's nobody wearing a mask. No hand sanitizer was there. That was January 23rd. And by the time that luncheon got over, we got to know that Wuhan and 3 other cities has been put under a lockdown. So that's how it unfolded. So before that, the Chinese media in the first week of January onward, they started giving some figures, like initially some 50 odd people, under investigation for this mystery pneumonia. Then WHO, Chinese media also stated, some doctors said it's not human to human transmission is not yet proven. So those kind of information were given by the state media as well. And during the time, President Xi Jinping on 18th of January, he toured Myanmar, and most of the newspaper coverage was primarily on President Xi's visit to Myanmar. So all hell broke loose on 21st, you remember 21st, 22nd, the US actually got the first case on their soil and some other countries. Then all hell broke loose. And as you can understand, 23rd January onward, everything, the whole world came to a standstill because China went under cordon sanitaire. Yeah.
Yes, Subham, I'll come to that. You raised a very valid point, and I'll take it to Seema. Seema, as Subham said, and we all know that it was on January 20th that the first case, where you are in USA right now, that is the Washington, the first case was reported on 20th of January, and this gentleman had come back from China from after visiting Wuhan on 15th of January, when he reported to the hospital on 20th of January with the symptoms of corona. Now the question is, the first case is detected on 20th. I was going through the tweets of President Trump. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So President Trump, I was going through his tweets from January till mid-March, which is 15th of March. Almost every tweet, in every tweet, he is saying, oh, we are doing great. We are completely under control. There's nothing to worry about. This is till 15th of March. And suddenly on 17th of March, he tweets, oh, I knew this is a pandemic before anyone else. And by then the number was spreading fast and thick in USA. I mean, even with such a big expenditure on health of the GDP, with a world-class infrastructure, public health infrastructure, what was it that from the federal government, from the president to governor to mayor, it seems everyone was caught napping before, and when they got up, it was too late, probably.
The short answer to this is two words, Donald Trump. Everybody was caught napping. He refused to believe that this was serious. He first said that it's going to disappear, like it's like the common flu, etc. And he tried to downplay everything. And there was a lot of dysfunction within the White House. It's not as if the doctors in the White House, the officials in the White House did not know. They knew. They were trying to warn him, and he just wouldn't listen. So the dysfunction within the White House, which you can see under this administration on almost every issue, also played out in this pandemic issue. So it took forever almost, when you look at it, when the doctors finally said that, look, the projected deaths in the US, unless we shut down, would be hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million people. That's when it sort of shook him up, and he closed travel from China, for which he took immense credit later on, that he acted fast, and if he hadn't done so, then the US would have had many, many more deaths. The point is, today, there is a second resurgence in the United States. Half of the United States, that is 26 states, are showing spikes in the virus. So Trump's decision to reopen the economy, because see, everything is tied up to the re-election of Donald Trump. There's a presidential election in November. Everything is, whatever he's doing is kind of tied up with that. He hurried up, reopening the economy. He didn't force people. He didn't mandate that people should wear masks. In fact, he encouraged people to protest in places like Florida against wearing of masks. So right now, it's like we're living in a surreal world. We're in a Mel Brooks movie or something like that. And I think things are going to get worse before they get better.
Yeah, because I was looking at the figure, 1/4 of the total global death has occurred in United States, and 1/4 of the total 9-point-some million infected people is in United States. And if we look at the figure of last 24 hours, that is more than 34,000 cases, positive cases in USA, which was at the peak at the end of April, early May. I'll come back to you with more on that also on the USA-China angle. But let me go to Vijay Singh in Paris. So I read your COVID diary that you wrote for one of the Indian newspapers. You are a man who has worked in print, who has written novels, who has worked with the visuals, narration, and जो आपने पूरा डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया है आपकी बिल्डिंग का, आपके नेबरहुड में क्या हो रहा था, जो आप सड़कों पे जो आप रात को अपने वॉक के लिए जाते थे, उसमें क्या हो रहा था मार्च के महीने में, अप्रैल के महीने में. I mean, you saw it all. The city of light, the city of life, the city of night suddenly turned into a city of graveyards. And what struck me, the point that you made, that all the Parisians, the well-off ones especially, took their car and headed for their country homes because they didn't want to suffer standing in long queues outside the supermarkets or in the suffocation of their apartments in Paris. Who were left were the poor who live on the streets or at the outskirts of Paris. Can you describe exactly in more words as you saw it unfolding? बताइए हमारे दर्शकों को. विजय जी. विजय जी आपको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा अपने आप को.
But I had unmuted myself before. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry about this. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. I said I'm very sorry to begin with. I'm probably the only filmmaker there with the worst frame out of the whole lot.
Can you just turn the camera because yes,
is that okay?
This is fine. Yes.
So I'll just have to hold it this way.
Okay, fine. Hold it for 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. See, partly we were all condemned to this sort of a microcosm that I speak of in that article for the Indian Express, partly because I was much like every other person here, confined. I could have used my old contacts to get myself a press card to go around to pick up stuff, but I didn't feel the need to because in many ways my own little quartier, as we call it, my neighborhood, was a reflection of what was going on elsewhere. That's what I describe in that little piece that you had. First of all, the closest, just 2 meters from me, there's a wall behind which lives an Italian girl called Valentina, her boyfriend Fabian, and they both were, within 24 hours, they went down with COVID. So that was the first near experience that we had in the building. Then from there, I organized a WhatsApp group in the building for assistance, for mutual support, which I must say that everyone immediately joined, and everyone, the incredible civil society voluntarism with which everyone came forward. There was Natasha here next to me who was making masks for everyone. Some food had to come for my neighbors who were down with COVID. Everyone offered they'll go and pick it up and they'll deliver it. So, I mean, one of the first things that struck was that despite all that spiritualism that we speak of in our country, in these countries also there's a tremendous amount of civic sense and solidarity between groups to be able to come out. How factories changed immediately their production systems to organize more masks, ventilators, all kinds of things. But having heard your first two speakers, I must go back to something that, let's face it, there's no point in telling what China did, what France did, what Italy did. Everyone was caught with their pants down. Everyone. Somewhere I wonder that if the level of the scientific inquiry in the world today is going to be the same as that of a layman called Vijay Singh sitting here, who knows nothing about viral infections, then, I mean, we have intelligences on this earth, we have scientific research on this earth. Somewhere somebody should come up who can lead the society to tell us, because look at the debate on masks that took place, that take off your mask. Even till today, we say over here, masks only protect the other and not me, unless you're on FFP2, which is, I don't know what you call it, but they are the sort of top level professional masks. And today, I mean, simple common sense would say, as Japanese, Taiwanese, as South Koreans, and even Chinese in some ways showed us even before, to wear a mask sort of somewhere layman understands it protects you and it protects the other. Why not do it? Anyway, that said, I thought that everyone was taken unawares by this whole thing. And one of the, I remember the very first night, I went down for a walk because we were allowed a 1-hour walk with a certificate in our pockets, a self-certificate, attested certificate, where you had to state what you're going out for. It had to be one of the 5 reasons, and of which a walk was allowed, a walk for health reasons. So I went out and I met this tramp who I know called Francois. And this guy was just trudging along, with his bag. God knows where he was going, drooping, hunched over. So I asked him. So I said, so he started chortling, he started laughing. And he said, they said that we'll take you to the Mars, we'll take you to Mars, we'll take you to the moon. And here they don't even have bloody enough masks. And he takes out a mask from his pocket and he says, at least even I have a mask, which the others don't have. This is a tramp speaking to me, right? And then he was worried. I asked him what his worry was. He said 2 things. One is that people do not touch coins anymore because they could be one of the agencies through which the virus spreads. So before, when he used to beg money, people used to leave €1 or €2, and because they are coins, they would not touch money anymore. So his ganyapan, his livelihood went down because nobody was giving cash. Nobody was taking out cash from the pocket to give him anymore. And number 2, because all these tramps sleep on the street, and the next day they go out into the cafes, sorry, I'll just finish here, and they use the toilet facilities there. All cafes were shut, all public toilets were shut. So this chap just didn't know what to do. But the third thing you must realize, but that's also because these are rich countries, is that when I went to see him again, he has been whisked off by the Paris municipality because they had special shelters for coronavirus people, and they took them.
Thank you, Vijay. We'll come back to you with more to know about France and all. Now, let's go to London. Lavina, can you hear me? Hi, Lavina, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I've unmuted myself.
Okay, perfect. Lavina, as Seema was saying, was talking about USA, how they were caught napping, were not doing anything. Vijayji also said that it seems everybody was caught with their pants down. Like Trump from hoax to lockdown, Mr. Boris Johnson also from herd immunity to lockdown. How did you see the things unfolding? Did Johnson made a late decision to go for lockdown, which costed Britain a lot in terms of infections, in terms of death? Or what was the public perception that that was there, that will the herd immunity will actually work? Ravina.
So I'll take you through a quick timeline and then I'll give you a personal view as well. So on the 29th of January, the first case of coronavirus was reported in the UK of Chinese people who had traveled. Then on the 28th of February, the first inside case, that is the UK specific where they had not traveled, was reported. And on the 5th of March, the first death happened of due to coronavirus of a 70-year-old lady. Eventually, the country went into lockdown on the 23rd of March. And as of now, which is 25th of June, we are coming in the third phase of easing the lockdown. So the lockdown is being eased that by the 4th of July, people will be able to go to cinemas, to restaurants, to hotels, on vacation, overnight stay. So it's, and after that, and hairdressers, which is what Boris Johnson needs the most, and things like that. So this is the, and eventually we are looking at even opening things like swimming pools, which are very close contact places. So this is the picture of how the timeline occurred. Boris Johnson, between the beginning of March and the 23rd of March, he started with this herd immunity, which actually, in fairness, is what we all will be in eventually. Because unless the vaccine comes, the economy won't be able to shut down forever. Especially, India to kickstart the economy in some way or the other. But to start off with the herd immunity or not is a question mark that I think the people later on will have to look at, and there are already calls of a public inquiry into UK's response to coronavirus. Was it late, 2 weeks late, to shut down the whole country? Because Boris Johnson started with shaking hands and eventually went down himself on oxygen in a hospital. And yet he has decided to open up. Some feel it's very early, yet on the other hand, it's a balance that we will not know is correct or not. There is at the moment a open letter that has been written by the experts saying that there will be a second spike, and is UK prepared for the second spike or not? It's a big question mark, because that might come in the UK during Christmas. Now, personally, I have covered it all the way through. I feel the second spike could happen even as early as November, thanks to a lot of these protests, the BLM protests that is happening. They have been consecutively happening every week. And a lot, and just today morning, there was a street party that the police, 22 police personnel have been injured trying to stop population as well. And there are lots of arrests. The herd immunity possibly did that on the 16th of March, when Imperial College said, please shut down, otherwise 250,000 people in the UK will succumb to coronavirus. That's when the entire strategy changed. He started the lockdown, but in the process, we were last in the queue for PPE, for masks, for all the arrangements that had to happen. Have suffered most on the front line actually are Black and Asian ethnic minority people in the UK. So while I agree that and what Vijay said, that coronavirus is something that in a way unites us in pain and the death, but I do disagree in the fact that it actually has the response of each country has to be specific, and that's where and it can't population. So BAME was the most affected population in the UK, and as of now also the doctors who died, the first 9 doctors who died were all from Black and Asian minorities. Indians doctors have suffered a lot, and Indian people have suffered a lot because of comorbidities or social economic conditions we don't know yet. But personally, just very quickly, the last bit, that people have from all walks of life. It was so endearing to hear what Vijay said about how people have come and helped each other, and us personally have also gone out. I had a scare of coronavirus, so I thought I had it. For 14 days, I was being quarantined as well while working and reporting as well, and I'm single and I have 2 kids to look after. So people coming forth and helping you has been the key, and it has just sort of reassured the faith in humanity.
Thank you, Lavina. I'll ask my colleague Ashley to speak to you to sort out the audio issue before the next. I come to you next in the next round. Okay, so now let's move to Bonn, Germany, where Anwar is with us. Anwar, I was going through this report that I read today that the infection number of infection is at lowest in Germany in the last 3 weeks. अगर हम देखें कि जो यूरोप के जो बड़े-बड़े देश हैं, जर्मनी, फ्रांस, स्पेन, इटली, ब्रिटेन, तो जर्मनी में सबसे कम इसका असर हुआ, नुकसान भी कम हुआ, जो नंबर ऑफ डेथ्स हैं उनकी संख्या भी इन सारे देशों से बहुत कम है. अभी भी जो जर्मनी का जो में जो जिनकी मृत्यु हुई उनकी संख्या 9,000 से कुछ ज़्यादा है. लेकिन जो एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो जर्मनी के जो स्वास्थ्य मंत्री हैं, हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, उन्होंने एक लेख में उनका पढ़ रहा था, उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि उसमें उन्होंने जिक्र किया कि जर्मनी ने कैसे कंटेन किया इस वायरस को, और उसके उन्होंने 3 कारण बताए. पहला कारण ये था कि जर्मनी का हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम जो काफ़ी सालों से उस पर काम करके उसको तैयार किया गया. दूसरा था कि टेस्टिंग 10 लाख टेस्ट प्रतिदिन जर्मनी कर रहा था. लेकिन जो उन्होंने दूसरा जो महत्वपूर्ण जो उन्होंने सबसे बात कही वो था विनिंग पब्लिक ट्रस्ट, जनता या लोगों का विश्वास जीतना. और उसके लिए उन्होंने जिस बात का जिक्र किया उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि सरकार को सिर्फ ये नहीं बताना चाहिए कि वो क्या जानती है, सरकार को ये भी बताना चाहिए कि वो क्या नहीं जानती, ताकि जब आप कोई फैसला लें तो जनता को ये पूरा विश्वास हो, ये समझते हुए, और जनता उसका समर्थन करेगी कि आपने सारी जानकारी उनके सामने रख दी. तो ये कितना बड़ा फैक्टर था जिस ढंग से जर्मनी ने कोरोना को कंट्रोल किया. और आज जैसा मैंने कहा कि आज जो न्यूज़ आई है कि पिछले 3 सप्ताह में लोएस्ट इन्फेक्शन रेट जो है वो आज के दिन में आया है. अनवर.
I think you're right, Dhananjay. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And one thing I wanted to say here that we have discussed and listened to names here, Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. The third name I wished I could have listened to one of the panelists, and that's the name of Chancellor Angela Merkel. I mean, it's 100% right what the Health Minister of Germany has written this in this article. That was the political willingness, and it was the political leadership. It was the leadership of Germany which somehow helped to contain this epidemic. I'm saying it on the basis of a number of things. I mean, it all started with a shockwave when it started in Italy. I also came back from India at that time, and the whole nation was in panic. There was no plan. People were going here and there. They were thinking what to do, what not to do. And at that very time, Angela Merkel came forward, and I think being a scientist herself, it helped her a lot to understand the pandemic, to understand the repercussions of it, to understand how it would react to the people. And I think that the way she has led it from there on, everyday press conference, Dhananjay, it's not an easy thing for a leader who is not keeping well these days. We know that she is not well. We also know that her political career is finished. She has decided not to go for the next election. She will not be the Chancellor of Germany after 2021. But at this point, at this crucial point, she led it from the front. She had the everyday press conference. Not only that, she every day managed to talk to the researchers, to the health administrations, and as you have rightly mentioned, the the health system in Germany is very, very good. Each and every person has a health insurance provided by the government. And if someone does not have a capacity to give the premium, the government pays the premium for that person. By saying that, I mean, then Merkel came on, I mean, the way she used to present herself during these press conferences, and in one of the press conferences, the way she explained what R naught is and why it is important to keep this R naught under 1. I mean, those things were so, I mean, that also gave a kind of faith to the people. They have understood that there is a leadership who is trying to help them, who is trying to contain the epidemic. So I would say that this political leadership was one of the very important factors which went in the favor of the containing the epidemic. जो दूसरी बात है वो मैं यहाँ पर ये भी कहना चाहता हूँ धनंजय कि जो आपने सोसाइटी की बात की और जो मेडिकल रिसर्च की बात की, ये तीनों फैक्टर मिल करके इस चीज को उन्होंने एक कंप्लीट पिक्चर बनाया। हम जानते हैं कि जर्मन सोसाइटी जो है वो कायदे कानूनों को लेकर के बहुत ज्यादा अवेयर होती है, और मुझे लगता है कि वहां पर जो पब्लिक का जो रिएक्शन था, जो पब्लिक की तरफ से जो सपोर्ट आया गवर्नमेंट को, वो भी बहुत स्ट्रांग आया। मैं अपनी बात ही बताता हूँ कि जैसे मैं डॉइचे वेले में काम करता हूँ, मुझे बिल्कुल जब शुरुआत में मुझे लगता है कि हमारे ऑफिस में जब पहला केस हुआ, उससे पहले ही हमसे कह दिया गया कि आप ऑफिस मेहरबानी करके मत आए ऑफिस, और आप घर में रहें। अगर आप घर से काम कर सकते हैं तो कीजिए, अगर घर से काम नहीं कर सकते हैं तो आप तब तक इंतजार कीजिए जब तक आप काम करने की हालत में आए। तो मुझे लगता है कि वो जो एक सिस्टम का जो सपोर्ट था उसने भी बहुत मदद की जर्मनी को। और तीसरी और आखिरी बात मैं इसमें ये जोड़ना चाहता हूं कि जो मेडिकल रिसर्च की बात जिसका आपने छोटा सा जिक्र किया, एक तो कि जर्मनी उसमें काफी एडवांस है, दूसरा कि जो इटली में जो कुछ हो रहा था उसको लेकर के जर्मनी ने बहुत तेजी से बिना पैनिक फैलाए अपने आप को प्रिपेयर किया। मेरे लिए समझना मुश्किल था कि किस तरह से 10 दिन के अंदर सारे अस्पतालों में लगभग 20 से 25% ज्यादा आईसीयू और बेड्स के इंतजाम कर लिए गए। मेरे लिए यह भी समझना मुश्किल था कि सारे अस्पतालों में किस तरह से ज्यादा डॉक्टरों को अरेंज कर लिया गया और उनको जो है स्टैंड बाय पर रखा गया, लेकिन ये सब कुछ मुमकिन हो पाया। तो मुझे लगता है कि लीडरशिप का भी कहीं ना कहीं इसमें एक बहुत बड़ा रोल था।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल अनवर, हमने ये देखा है कि जहां जहां लीडरशिप ने समय रहते हुए कदम उठाए, तैयारियां की, जो हेल्थ मिनिस्टर हैं जर्मनी के, उन्होंने इस बात का भी जिक्र किया जर्मनी में सबसे पहले ये वायरस नहीं आया, ये वायरस किसी और जगह पहले आया। तो जर्मनी को के अच्छे हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के बावजूद जर्मनी को इस बात का मौका मिला कि वो और अपनी तैयारी को और मजबूत बना ले, और उसको उन्होंने किया भी, जिसका फायदा जर्मनी को मिला। चलिए अब दुबई की ओर चलते हैं। शानिर हमारे साथ हैं। गुड इवनिंग शानिर। शानिर, एमिरेट्स इज नॉट, द पॉपुलेशन इज नॉट टू बिग, लेकिन जब कोरोना का अटैक होता है, पॉपुलेशन कम हो ज्यादा हो, कोई बहुत उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता। उसके कई कारण हैं। कारण ये है कि कैसे गवर्नमेंट जो है क्या क्या कदम उठाती है उसको कंटेन करने के लिए। एक जो पब्लिक में कॉन्फिडेंस जनरेट करने का जो टास्क होता है, उसको कैसे वो आगे बढ़ाती है, कॉन्फिडेंस जनरेट करती है। और तीसरा एक जो फियर साइकोसिस होता है सोसाइटी के अंदर में, जब इस तरह का पैंडेमिक अटैक होता है, तो उस टाइम में जो फियर साइकोसिस क्रिएट होता है, उससे लड़ना भी उतना ही इम्पोर्टेंट होता है। आपने बहुत ही नजदीक से देखा कि एमिरेट्स में अबू धाबी, दुबई, शारजा, जो 3 सबसे बड़े एमिरेट्स हैं, वहां पर कैसे गवर्नमेंट्स ने लोगों के अंदर वो कॉन्फिडेंस जनरेट किया, फियर साइकोसिस से लड़ाई लड़ी और कैसे कंटेन कर दिया। प्लीज शानिर।
Yeah, hello everyone. See, we have the advantage of the size and population. Definitely our population is like 9.63 million only. And from day one, government was very much clear that the fight will be go on the two line. One is pandemic and one is the fear psychosis. So first case was reported in 2nd of February. Even after that, you was here and Abhishek was here. So there was like a adaptation process. They developed a adaptation process actually. Like when the lockdown was announced, first it was not sudden lockdown. It was like first malls will close, gym will close, beach will close. School was already under the holidays, and then suddenly supermarkets will close. Then only the groceries will open. So there was an adaptation process. We got a time to adopt the thing. Like I was knew like after 5 days, this shop will not open. So I was aware. I went to go and brought the Ludo and Carom and all these things to prepare myself to engage. So this is the adaptation process. That was amazing. And second thing, when the quarantine process was start, the first batch or the people who was in the who like arrived from the foreign countries, they were quarantined in the 5-star hotels. Like you are coming in a economic class ticket and you are quarantined in JW Marriott. So what you will do? You will make the videos and you will post on TikTok and Facebook and everywhere. That message was very positive, and everybody was very much like we were aware. Like if you will suffer, what to do, where to go, and then this hotel is for you for 14 days. When the hotel is finished, then the real estate projects which was ready but not handover, they were converted with the full facilities. Then there was a makeshift hospitals like the Abu Dhabi Cake Care Center where you were in February. That was converted like 1,000-bed hospitals. Dubai Cake Care Center converted. And in these makeshift hospitals, like there was film shows for the patients. Hollywood movie, Bollywood movie, Arabic movie, whatever you want, enjoy. So all these things there was no fear like, okay, what to do? What will happen when I will got infected? That was the best part, where at one front, government was very clearly, okay, nothing will happen to you. And that the result, when the first case was reported on 2nd of February and first death, which was like 78-year-old lady, was reported after 48 days. It was in 21st March. So you can see the preparation, like everybody was, and today, like last 10 days, the figure is flat, in between 300 to 400. And Dubai or UAE is back on the track. Like metro is going to back on its schedule, malls are going on schedule. Now they are discussing to open the schools from September, and all these things, like all the life is back to the normal. So in full 3-4 months, there was no fear psychosis. Definitely figures were coming, and here I will talk again about the same thing which Kanwar quoted. Our belief in the leaders, like whatever figures is coming, that is right. You are not hiding anything. It was very much clear that the hot spot was spotted. This is a hot spot. The government cordon off the full area, and like there's a area in Abu Dhabi, Musaffa. Today's report came that they tested almost like 570,000 people there. Like everybody is tested. No one is left. And their target is to test all 9.63 population, 9.63 million population of UAE. So half is already tested. So the massive testing and believe in government was like this. They opened this drive-through testing centers and people were ready to go. Like there was a long queue. Like everybody was ready to surrender. Like, yeah, test me. There was no fear of the corona. Test me, I am positive, I will go to the government facilities. And now they have released, like all the private facilities is released. Now that figure is like this, government is saying, okay, only government hospitals will take care of this. So there is no fear psychosis, definitely. Figures were coming, and right now is only like 11,000 almost active cases left in UAE. And death figure is definitely is just 308. So, and all these cases were somehow complicated and age factor and all these things were involved. The whole way the government tackled this pandemics, that is really amazing. Though it's a small size and all these things, but they are like more than 250 nationalities living here. To take them in the confidence and generate a big umbrella under that everybody was feeling safe, that is amazing.
Well, right, Sunny, stay with us. We will come back to you again. Now let's come back to home turf. That is, let's go to Vidya. She is joining us from Mumbai, the hot spot in the country. Vidya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I have unmuted myself.
All right. So Vidya, I'm sure Bombay will be happy or sad, but Delhi is seriously giving a run for its money in the way the number of cases are increasing in Delhi. It's a race which nobody wants to participate in, and rather forget about winning it, but it's a matter of fact. But anyway, let's talk about Mumbai. Before 24th of January, 24th of March, before Prime Minister announced a complete lockdown, cases had, started appearing. Flights were coming, lots of, Bombay being the financial capital, lots of people from abroad, they were coming, meetings and all that. I mean, where do you think things went completely horribly wrong, completely mishandled, if one may call it, by the government, so that there was no preparation so that to deal with the situation? Now people are talking, that is one. Number two, people are talking about Dharavi today now. Oh, we are just getting 8 cases or 10 cases every day. Have they really chased out the virus, or because they chased out the entire population, so the number of cases are less in Dharavi now? Vidya.
If you look at this entire, especially Mumbai, it was around 9th of March that Maharashtra got its first case, and a day or two after that, these are people who had come from Dubai. Before that, China had been blocked down, but people from other countries were still coming in, and that's where the cases came from. Specifically in Maharashtra, if you talk about, people had come from Dubai, they had gone to Sangli, they were in Pune. So that in spite of the fact that the Maharashtra government was the first one, even before the central government actually locked down, there was a lockdown announced by Modi government. Maharashtra government had already brought in a lockdown in its place. There were shops that were closed. There were a lot of lockdown procedure had already started. In fact, Union government seemed to be following what the Maharashtra government was actually already doing. But there have been a lot of questions that have been raised for the sheer fact that one, because of the fact that yes, there are two different governments in the central as well as the state government. So a lot of blame game has been happening. Consider the fact that when the lockdown happened, Maharashtra government kept asking people, the central government, to run the trains so that people who were leaving could really leave. That did not happen, and which is the reason why we had those most heart-wrenching videos, photographs that we actually saw of people actually walking back home all those many number of kilometers only because they wanted to not die in Mumbai, a land far away from their own homeland. Apart from that, there was a lot of fear among people, especially those who lived in Dharavi. You mentioned Dharavi, I'll come to that point later. But when we spoke to a lot of people and asked them as to why are you leaving, the one thing that we noticed, one was obviously that there was no work, and the food distribution system wasn't really helping many. But the second biggest thing that everyone seemed to say was there was a fear. We spoke to a lot of people who had in fact got jobs. There was one person I remember specifically from Bundelkhand, Gonda. He kept telling me that I kept telling him, you have a job, you have food, water, everything at your place. Why are you still leaving? And he kept telling me, no, my parents want me to come back home, and that is why I have to leave at any cost. So that was one fear that I saw amongst many, not just one, but many who specifically, we remember that, as you said, Dhananjay, that, people, when they moved out of Dharavi, that was when the cases really came down. There is no doubt, you have to give some credit to a lot of the work that has been done by the municipal corporation. But, as most systems work, as we know in India, I specifically remember one case of a girl who lost her father. She's just 21-year-old girl. She had lost her father, and she called me up and she was crying. And she said, these people, I was at the hospital, I have lost my father, but I have come back home because they do not have a place to quarantine me and my family. And when I got home, the people in the slum, the others, they wouldn't let them get inside their house. They were made to stand in the middle of the night, in the middle of the road, when the BMC call centers were being called up by almost everybody in the slum, but no one from the BMC came. So even though, and this was basically, you have to remember, this was a slum in Wakola where probably 2,000 people use a single washroom. So the spread could have been, in fact, those people, if you look at this entire cases in Dharavi and other places, the reason for the the fear that is there amongst most people and in the authorities as well is because of the sheer fact that there are way too many number of people in that one area, and using the same utilities. There are same drinking pipelines. There's one pipeline where everyone stands in the morning to get water. One washroom which has to be used by hundreds of people. So there has to be a lot of sharing that has to happen. Before COVID-19, probably this was not really a big problem, but with COVID-19, usage of something which was similar against, for everyone became an extremely big point. And that is the reason why the Maharashtra government kept asking the central government to run special trains. They finally did run Shramik Special, but with, as we know, Dhananjay, a lot of allegations that came about with the number of trains being sought, number of trains that they really got, and the procedures involved. So that bit happened, but certainly with the leaving of many people, now you might have a lot of cases in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and other states. But right now, yes, Dharavi, because of a lot of people leaving actually, is one of the biggest reasons why we have seen cases coming down. They're still happening there, but in single numbers. There's probably a death or two that we had seen a day or two earlier. But now the number of deaths is also going down. The number of people still having the virus is approximately 29,000 in Mumbai, with active cases, more than that in Maharashtra, obviously. But the municipal commissioner has started two, things that we have really come to know. One is that there's a mission zero that has been started, which is basically they want to see to it that the number of active cases from 29,000 really comes down to zero. It will take a while, but the commissioner says that they will get it by around mid-July end. Well, we really in Mumbai, a lot of people do not know how that will happen, but that's something that is being promised by the authorities. And the second is extensive testing, which should have really happened in the beginning itself, but finally it is happening after losing approximately 4,000 people in this city. But yes, extensive testing with the cost of it coming down, with reports now barely down to, say, for example, that 1 hour, within 1 hour you'll be able to get your report. That those testing kits are now finally here. So we will probably see a lot of testing, a lot of quarantining. The authorities say they are prepared. But if you remember, if you look at the statistics of the deaths that we see in Maharashtra, specifically Mumbai, the reason for that is also because there is lack of ventilators, ICUs. There was a point in which for many days, the 99% ICUs occupied was the criteria, that the numbers that were given out. In fact, on one day, I specifically remember about 2 weeks ago, there was only one ICU that was empty, that was not occupied, and rest everything was occupied. So that was a kind of, so in spite of the fact that we had a long lockdown period, the authorities were not really able to utilize it to really gain that many. Now, after so many days, now they are saying that they will increase it further. Well, it will really help to have so many ICUs and ventilators now. But if we really had them, probably we could have had some more lives being saved.
Certainly, Vidya, stay with us. We'll come back to you. So let's go to Subham in Beijing once again. Subham is with us. Subham, can you hear me?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Subham, my question to you, that now that virus has come back to China, everybody was fearing it. This time it is the mainland China. It's Beijing. I was reading that a week back, it was scaled up to level 2 from level 3. Lots of neighborhoods were completely quarantined, absolutely no movement. What is this? You are there in the Beijing right now. What is the situation? Is it worrisome?
See, not really, because like I have survived last 5 months here, or almost 6 months. So basically, it's all about spectacle. Like Anwarji, as I as I've heard him. Like he was giving Germany's example, but actually, you know, that's not a, I mean, in my humble opinion, because Germany is a country which is like, which has got population of less than West Bengal, the state of West Bengal. But if you see the deaths, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I found Iran got less number of deaths than Germany. It's all about, you know, how you project a scenario. So, I mean, a first world country with the top-notch healthcare system. So they couldn't, like there were more than 8,000 deaths, whereas Peru had same number of infected, but they had only 3,000 deaths. Iran, which was the second hotspot after China, had got at one point of time had less number of deaths than Germany. So these are all like, you know, a notion and very, you know, it's your perspective. But as far as China is concerned, Beijing, I can give you one data. Last 5 months in Beijing, there were less than 600 cases in 6 months or in 5 months. Okay, but in last 1 week, there were 200 cases, new cases, I'm saying. So that gives you the perspective. Now, China is actually having a second wave, if you can call it. The scientists, they have their own logic and obviously reasoning behind calling a wave a second wave or a first wave, depending on the strain of the virus or other genetic conditions of the virus. But in Beijing, you know, China did really well if you really see the last few months. I mean, except like there was one report about China sacrificed Hubei province to save the rest of the country, which was true, because once the cordon sanitaire or lockdown happened in Wuhan and Hubei, the entire province of Hubei, so that time most of the death tolls, if you really see, were coming from Hubei and Wuhan, but rest of China, there were hardly too many cases. So right now, China is more prepared, I would say. And another aspect we have to take care of, we have to look into it, that is like in India. In India, for example, India allowed people to come back to India. But right from the January 23rd, when the lockdown happened officially, it was announced and the Chinese government accepted that there is a crisis situation. Since that day, the Chinese citizens who were abroad at the time, and you know, China actually, you know, the most number of overseas people in different countries are actually from China. India comes second after China. So the overseas Chinese, the Chinese citizens who are students who are studying in China, in other countries, who are like travelers, who are like, touring those countries. So they were prohibited from coming back. Because China stopped a lot of, air traffic. They control the air traffic, and they're not allowing too many people to return to China. Even today, there are so many thousands of Chinese who are stuck and stranded in different countries across the globe. So that way, and Beijing has been playing very cautious. Like what happened, the way they have done, like last few months, in March, China started a policy in which all the Beijing-bound flights were diverted to some other provinces, other cities. And they were like, those flights were actually stopping in those cities, and they were checking, they were doing all the medical checks, nucleic acid tests and all, and they were keeping those infected patients there only. So Beijing was getting less number of, infected cases from abroad. And China has, for last 3 months, China has got a policy of, they call it 5-1 policy. Every week, there'll be one flight by one airlines to one country and one city. So they have been following this. And so because of all this, and if you really compare the Indian scenario, I'm sure that the way China controlled it, because I think their system also contributed to that, which I myself have experienced that right from the day one. Everybody was on the same page, and there's only one information being spread to the entire nation. Everybody was listening to it, because I mean, if you see in India, thousands experts talking on thousand odd channels, and you are getting different ideas about COVID and everything. Even the precautionary measures. I mean, people are talking differently. Some are saying you have to have gomutro. Somebody saying you have to have turmeric. Yeah.
Yes,
so that's
right.
something. But in China, that never happened. In China, that never happened. And
measures are quite stringent in China. There is a system in place. some agrees with it, some do not, but yes,
Yeah.
you can say that they were able to contain it, the kind of virus that is coronavirus. Let me go to Seema next. Seema, there is a war of words going on between US and China on the issue of COVID-19. President Trump calls it a name from Kung Flu and whatever he feels like. But the point is, on one hand, he's calling it names which some say it's racist. Some, at the same time, his national security advisor in his book has revealed that he actually sought the help of Chinese President Xi Jinping in his re-election bid. Yes, and the way American people are suffering because of the coronavirus, are they going to take him seriously on the face value after what John has revealed?
Okay, so let me say a couple of things at the outset. I don't have much faith in the figures of China, whether it's the death toll or when the first cases were detected, etc. Number two, it's important to remember that while the Chinese stopped intra-China travel, they did not stop people from Wuhan to go abroad. And that, I think, is a highly irresponsible act on part of the Chinese government. So yes, the Chinese can celebrate that they control the pandemic. But the rest of the world should not forget that the pandemic erupted there and spread from there. And they didn't share information in time. They completely control the WHO and things like that. So at one level, I think Trump is perfectly right to blame China. There are two things happening. Fighting the pandemic is one thing, but political responsibility is another. You cannot lose sight of one or the other. Both have to be done. As far as John Bolton's book is concerned, it's a 2-week story in Washington, D.C. Nobody's going to remember. There are too many other things that will determine the election outcome. And 6 months is a long time in politics. This is today's story. Besides, John Bolton doesn't have the best reputation in the world. Democrats don't like him. Republicans don't like him. He is one of the most hated figures in the country. So, I mean, I don't take his book as like the ultimate thing. So in terms of the specific accusation that Donald Trump asked Xi Jinping for help in his re-election, he was asking that China buy more farm products. So tell me, in which other democracy are political leaders not looking for gain when they're up for re-election? Why does that surprise people so much? Maybe I'm too much of a cynic, but I think what Donald Trump is doing is what politicians will do anytime. They may not say it publicly. The difference between Donald Trump and other leaders is that he says it publicly, exactly what he is thinking, exactly. So in some ways, it's fascinating to be living in America at this time and to have such a transparently transactional politician at the top of the heap. It's not good. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just saying keep in perspective other aspects of the whole issue. And I think China has to take responsibility. The way they behaved after they shut down the rest of the world with the pandemic. They sent faulty test kits, they sent faulty PPEs, they extracted money, they were selling these things while claiming that it was aid, like they were giving it free. They were not giving it free. We know from the experience in India that the test kits that came from China were faulty. So let's keep the whole picture in mind before praising one or criticizing the other. And China is a communist country. It's an autocracy. Obviously, they can shut the entire country down and nobody is going to complain. Or even if they do complain, they're going to be done away with. So in America, it's the other extreme, that where wearing a face mask becomes a political act. Like, whether you wear a mask is like a symbol of freedom. So that's what
it's a very polarized situation and debate, if I may say it. People on both spectrum have very strong positions, and I think it will go on for some time to come unless the world is able to deal with this pandemic and the virus. So, okay, let's go to Vijay Singh in Paris. Vijayji, last week, President of France addressed his countrymen, said that he is reopening the economy, but the country has to remain vigilant, and all the system will remain in the place in case of a second wave of virus attack. What is the situation after his speech? Is the life back to normal? People are back on the streets, in the cafes, famous roadside cafes in Paris. What is the situation like now?
Yes, by and large, things are back to normal. Recently, we had the Music Day, Fête de la Musique, on the 21st of June. It is the longest day in the year. And you might have seen images on the television. There were hundreds not hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of people who were all over, by the canal, on the riverside of the Seine, and people dancing, jumping. Cops had to intervene. But then ultimately, in some of these things, cops had to intervene and disband this public jamboree, for the simple reason that, you see, many things have been said, and at times it becomes difficult in this format, if I may suggest, to be able to, or maybe it'll come up in the discussion, to be able to sort of interact at that point. I want to go back to what was just said from Washington by the young lady. See, it's not just a question of that WHO is controlled by China. This is an old story. It didn't begin yesterday. It began in the 1970s, 80s, with Indira Gandhi, with non-aligned movement, when people realized that these bloody UNs and all these UN setups are only by being controlled by the advanced democracies, by the white man. And then the whole of Africa got behind the non-aligned movement to say, we are also contributing it to the UN organization. I remember as a child, with so much gusto, with so much honor, WHO people were received at home because my father was a surgeon. And they knew that WHO is the only window open to India for what is going on elsewhere in terms of research, in terms of drugs, in terms of how to control malarias and choleras and measles and smallpox at that time. So all these things are related. Today, what has happened is, like when I first came to Paris, like any other person, I also went to UNESCO ki bhi humko bhi koi kaam kum de do, hum JNU se aaye hain, ye wo. So I suddenly realized that I understood the structure slightly of UNESCO, and WHO is virtually like that, is that no Western country was interested in joining UNESCO, their people, not that much at least. Whereas UNESCO posts were being filled in by people who were from the third world, who were from emerging or underdeveloped economies. because they didn't need such jobs. Because at that point, in UNESCO, whatever they were paying for us Indians, it's a lot of money. But for a Western job, it's just about the equivalent of that. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not that, you know, China controlled WHO. I mean, maybe there is some lien between the two, but there are certain moral, political-moral bonds between the problems of the third world and what China has seen before. China might be, if you like, the most stern totalitarian reflection of it, which I'm certainly not with. But in many ways, they have gone through the struggle to realize how the West manipulates them. And Trump obviously used it to put all this down. And secondly, just because an idiot goes around saying very transparently that I'm going to seek the help of China or Russia or Putin or Georgia to get myself elected, I'm not going to give him any plus points for it. Democracy is meant, particularly like yours. I was just looking at your urban update, that if such mechanisms are there to empower basic ground level democracy today, this is exactly the point that we should oppose. That if people are caught using foreign, because what is the purpose of an election? An election is that on the strength of me as a human being, as a political being, I go to someone and I go to the society to seek their support, to seek their hegemonic approval to represent them in the parliament tomorrow or in White House tomorrow. So if that is the basic test, then this is the point where you should control it, because now he looks like, at times even I have felt as a filmmaker, if not as a political observer, I felt Trump looks like a sort of harmless idiot, you know, who's going around. And at times he does make a good buffoon. For example, he'll make a wonderful character in a film. But when he comes to lead an arsenal of nuclear weapons on this earth, which can kill this, which can destroy this world 10 times over, then you think, hang on, man, you know, whoever I voted for. That's the point. Anyway, may I ask a question?
I would just, if I can answer that.
Quickly,
the difference being that the US will have an election in November, and he may lose. And Xi Jinping is not going to have an election. He has manipulated the constitution. He is emperor for life. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm not disputing.
As I said, there are very strong, very strong views on both sides of the spectrum. People have strong positions. The debate will go on. So for the moment, let's keep a pause on this one. Let me go to Lavina in London. Lavina, we have been reading reports that the statement from the health minister and also Boris Johnson that a new policy of reopening the economy and will be unveiled in the first week of July. What all are on the cards that you are hearing? How is Britain going to do it?
We are already opening quite a bit, actually. So we are in the third phase of opening. Already, as of now, people can go to the parks for unlimited number of time. Single families of single mother, single parent can have a bubble with another similar family. People can meet 6 different people from different households in a park setting if they are maintaining social distancing. Places of worship are open for individual prayers, but from the 4th of July, as I had mentioned before, now cinemas, leisure centers, places of worship, normally weddings that could have 30 guests, also pubs, which is most important, and a lot of people want to go out drinking, and they already are. Takeaway drinking or takeaway pizzas are already on, or hotels. You can go for stay vacation, which is staying for overnight in a bread and breakfast or hotel. So all that is going to be starting from the 4th of July, but with a caveat, of course, that the Royal College of Surgeons, Physicians, Nursing, and British Medical Association has written an open letter to all the political parties saying that there could be a second wave, whatever the second wave we call, as we said, discussed, but there could be a second wave and a spike, and therefore we need to check now whether Britain is prepared then for a second wave or not, unlike the first time where we were caught unawares, as Mr. Vijayji had said. Also, the whole, once, whether we can open so much or not. So there's a balance between people, and I went out yesterday to just check. People are, and if I show you those visuals, people are already out and about. The weather in London, specifically where I stay, is beautiful. While this is happening here, and this is only for England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are coming up with their own policies, but overall UK is opening with the possibility, of course, of a second spike in Christmas, they predict. But I think BLM movement and all that has happened here, it could actually, personally, I feel could come in November itself. Also, I just quickly will add that there is a hope in the vaccine. So Oxford...
Lavina,
Oxford,
yes, I was coming to that, Veska. I just read it today that Oxford clinical trial is in the final stage to produce the vaccine. 30 seconds, any word on that?
Very quickly, Oxford now is already given the go ahead to produce the vaccine possibly in September and hopefully give it out in October. So if I were to believe the inside story from the doctors that I speak to, and this is not out in public, I'm just sharing it as a personal unconfirmed official report, is that the vaccine can save you for an year. So you personally might not have that virus, but you can be a transmitter of that virus. At the same time, Imperial College also is in the human trial stage, and they could come up. That is a very pioneering kind of vaccine trial that could push the whole vaccine world into another arena, because they are doing through artificial protein RNA. So and dexamethasone, which is the mild steroid, which can save already 30% of lives in those who are in the intensive care, as well as those who are taking oxygen. So there is hope, but also the scare and the fear that there can be a second spike.
Right. Anwar, can you tell us, there is a question that has come, and I think I should put it to you also. You should be talking about this one, that what kind of a role that the local governments have played in managing the affairs so far as COVID-19 is concerned, how the result in one city is different from the other city in the same country. Is it because of the leadership that the city has, or it's just because the everything is controlled by the federal government and local governments have no role to play as such? What is the situation in Germany?
I could not get the last sentence of yours, but I have noted down your question, and I'm going to answer that in a bit. Before that, I would like to say that the discussion has now entered into a very interesting phase where people are coming up with their opinion. I would like to have a comment on what Shubham has said and Seema has said from Washington. I mean, first of all, Shubham, thank you very much for bringing up these numbers, because these numbers are, of course, if you compare the population of Germany with the population of China, I mean, there is no comparison. We cannot compare 80 million with 1.4 billion people. But at the same time, we also have to put things in the right perspective. I mean, when we talk about the number of cases or the number of people who have been died because of the coronavirus, we also have to see that what kind of precautions have been taken, what kind of tests, for example. The tests are the most important thing. How many tests have been done? I quickly looked at the website, which everybody knows now, this Worldometer thing. And I've noticed that Germany has done almost 65,000 tests per million in the last few weeks. India has done just about 5,000. And you know how much China has done? No data available. And that's where I wanted to come to Seema, which she has rightly pointed out, that the data which comes from China, it has become such a way that we just cannot believe what China is saying.
Yeah,
It has become such an the single party rule, the autocratic system, the communist rule has made the perception, and again and again, things are coming up in such a way that we try to believe China. I promise that I want to believe at point that, hey, China cannot do everything wrong. But the things come up in such a way that we just simply cannot believe it. How can you not give the data after 6 months of time, especially to a disease which has originated in your country? I mean, come on, you have 1.4 billion people and you do not have the data. How many people have been tested? So by saying that, I just wanted to point out that, see, when we talk about handling this epidemic, we have to understand that how our democracy is working, how the system is working, and just look at the numbers. And these numbers will simply tell you that how democracies have worked. I mean, look at the five top countries and look at their leaders, the Bolsonaros, the Trumps, the Modis, the Putins, and all those things. And then you will understand that what's happening there. I would still put USA as an exception, because the people in the US, and especially the civil society, is so vocal. The press is, I mean, of course it is somehow controlled, but the press has always come up with a narrative which is the people's voice. And that is something, I mean, we should not, there's no point of defending the countries where we live in.
Fine,
I mean, on the contrary, we should question the system.
Anwar, this debate can go on. We are getting into academic domain now. And I'm also running out of time.
No, so, I will come to your question. I mean,
very briefly.
I really wanted to mention.
Just 1 minute, Anwar.
Yeah, the question you have asked about the local governments, yes. Most of the federal countries, Germany is also a federal country, and it has 16 states, and there are states which are more vulnerable to the virus than those states which are less vulnerable. For example, I live in a state that's called North Rhine-Westphalia. Here, the first case erupted in this state, and the second wave in Germany has also started from this state. Only day before yesterday, two of the districts in the capital of this state, Düsseldorf, 2 districts have been locked down. I mean, there was never a formal lockdown in Germany because of the federal system. There are so many checks and balances to the central government that it cannot implement all the rules which is I mean, it has to take permission from the state government, and that's why that's one of the reasons which somehow also kind of democratic standard has been followed. But yes, the second wave has already started here, and it depends on the state to state management how the government is managing it. Just one point I wanted to mention here, Dhananjay. There's a very famous virologist here in Germany. His name is Christian Drosten, and he has got he's now famous worldwide. He's basically a virologist, but he started his podcast when the pandemic started in the first place in March, and he has warned only a couple of weeks back that the second wave may come. You have to understand that the kind of the way the lockdown has been opened is not the right way, and if you look at the R0 number, it has shoot up 2.88. We never thought that in Germany the R0 number would go up. Here, the people who were aware, the disciplined Germans, they have now taken it easy. I think that they have fed up. They just don't want to be in strong restrictions, and the things are getting, I would say, a bit in the direction of serious in Germany.
Thank you. Thanks, Anwar. Let me go to, yes, the second wave has started in China, in South Korea. Australia has reported its first death in 1 month's time. So, Shanir, very quickly, is Dubai back to normal? Are the business activities given the financial hub that it is? It's a global financial hub. Have things become normal? Usual activities have started in Dubai? Shanir?
Yeah. See, we are hoping that now the flat curve is flat and it will go down to zero. Now the challenge is to bring back the economy on the track, and that is a recovery process. Which government is trying to do it here. Ki the dent which we having during this last from April, May, and June. So how to recover all these things? And we are expecting in September when the schools will start. Schools are very important.
Hello, it's been
Hello,
cut.
Shanir?
Start. And definitely government is at every escape they are trying to support the.
I think we are having uh, connectivity problem with Shanir. Hello, Shanir, can you hear me? Okay.
Like we are responsible and we have to go with we are responsible. Pubs are open. So the whole idea is to now recover the economy.
Thanks, Shanir. Thanks. I will give the last word to Vidya in Mumbai. Vidya, you talked about Mission Zero. I wonder how realistic that is. But what is the sense you are getting? Actually, is there any possibility to flatten the curve, especially in Mumbai, say in a week's time or in 10 days' time or even in 2 weeks' time? Is that a possibility at all?
Well, the number of cases in Mumbai are rising, but I'm always the last one to come in. But yes, at this point, yes, the numbers are certainly going down. There's no doubt on that. The number of doubling rate that we see earlier, we used to see almost, the number of cases were increasing suddenly by, say, for example, in 12 days, the numbers would have doubled. But now it is down to nearly 30 days. So which is certainly very good, but the point is that the number of deaths that have been happening, that's a big concern. I've spoken to a lot of doctors as to when you say that your recovery rates are fine, your death rates are going down, then why is it that you see really high the number of deaths in Mumbai? And they actually, probably it's the case with putting out the entire blame on others every time, but the doctors say that the reason why this is happening is because people really do not keep a watch on their own health. They come in very late into the day, into the hospitals, and it's too late to save them. But remember that, Mumbai is also a city, in spite of its huge infrastructure, basic, knowledge about having oximeters, which is one big thing, which is very important. That's really not there. In fact, the housing society where I live in, someone actually donated this 2,500 rupees thing recently. It's that cheap, but it's still not available everywhere. And if this is the condition, you can imagine what it would be in other rural areas. But yes, if you can talk about, yes, the opening up of the city, that's really happening. We have already seen offices starting, the shops are open. But unlike Delhi, malls are not really open. But we just today, some time back, the cabinet has passed a decision to go ahead and open salons and such gyms. A lot of other facilities are being opened up, in spite of the fact that there are many number of cases. But there is a lot of pressure from these entities, basically, that we have to remember that the shop for owners, for example, when Maharashtra was still unlocking itself, and it said that we'll go ahead with just the opening up of e-commerce. The shop owners, I mean, I know that they started meeting Uddhav Thackeray, Aditya Thackeray, all of them, and said, no, we have to open or else we'll lose business and everything. They had to open up the shops, in spite of the fact that what we know is that the government was not really in the mood to do it. But there are a lot of problems that the government is facing when it comes to implementation. Like when I was speaking to a lot of shop owners, and they actually do accept that there are a lot of people who come in without wearing masks. In this day and time, when there are 30,000 active cases just in this city, having people not wearing masks is something that would be very tragic. But there are a lot of people still doing that. Well, the government is still trying its best to try to drill it into the mind that, boss, wearing a mask is still all right compared to wearing a ventilator around you, wrapped around you. So certainly, there are measures being taken, but at this point that we see with the onslaught of monsoon, even normal viral fevers spread like crazy, and so it is quite, everyone's certain that the coronavirus will spread probably, but well, the authorities probably have a plan in mind that they're actually going ahead and claiming that by July end we'll actually be somewhere around much lesser than what we are right now.
Thanks, Vidya. So as we belong to the same tribe, and every journalist has information, figures, and then an analysis based on those facts and figures. And obviously, as a frontline reporter from the ground zero, what they learn, they talk about it. It was wonderful having you all. Suvam in Beijing, Seema Sirohi in Washington, Lavina in London, Vijay Singh in Paris, Anwar in Bonn, Shanir in Dubai, and Vidya in Mumbai. Thanks for joining us today on this webinar. We'll be back next Thursday with a new topic and another fantastic panel. This program, those who missed it, will be available on Urban Updates YouTube channel, on our Twitter handle, contact Urban Update, and on our Facebook page, Urban Update MAG. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now. See you next Thursday. Thank you.